I'd like to pay tribute to all our frontline healthcare workers, people who are going above and beyond, answering the call of duty to keep Canadians healthy and safe. And I also want to express my sincere condolences and sympathies to the families of all those who have succumbed to the virus. I can only imagine the heartache that you're going through. As a father of 5 children myself and as someone with elderly relatives, we all share in the anxiety and concern that comes with this health pandemic. More than 2 million people have been laid off, and while the government has announced measures to help, so far the money has not reached Canadians' bank accounts, and we are being told that it may be weeks before the relief gets in their hands. The wage subsidy that the government originally announced turned out to be insufficient to help small business owners struggling to make their payroll. So Conservatives pushed for a significant increase, and days later, the government announced a 75% wage subsidy. Now we have learned that Parliament will have to be recalled to fix the government's legislation. Comme je l'ai dit clairement la semaine dernière, quand la Chambre des communes s'est réunie, les conservateurs ont accepté de revenir à Ottawa pour offrir une aide véritable à tous les Canadiens, le plus vite possible. Avant la dernière séance d'urgence, les conservateurs ont négocié de bonne foi et ont supposé que tous les partis avaient fait la même chose pour offrir une aide le plus vite possible. Minister Freeland this week assured opposition leaders that there would not be a repeat of the power grab that we blocked last week during the next emergency sitting of Parliament. And I sincerely hope that's true. The government's legislation must be focused on helping Canadians. When the House of Commons next sits, Conservatives will be looking for several things. First, the government must reverse this week's increase of the carbon tax. I continue to believe that it should be scrapped altogether, but in this time of crisis, there is no justification for the government to be taking more money out of the economy through higher taxes. Deuxièmement, pour assurer que les petites entreprises ont les fonds nécessaires pour survivre à cette crise, le gouvernement doit immédiatement rembourser la TPS aux petites entreprises qui l'ont collectée depuis au moins 6 mois. We believe the government must refund the GST that allow small businesses to keep the GST that they have collected over the past few months. This will allow for an immediate cash infusion to allow small and medium-sized businesses to survive this downturn and to ensure that there are jobs for people to go back to. The wage subsidy is taking weeks to roll out, and companies have to pay the wages up front. Many of them have experienced a catastrophic drop in revenue, so allowing them to keep the GST that has already been collected is quick and easy and provides an immediate solution. Les propriétaires d'entreprises ont dit clairement qu'ils ne peuvent pas attendre 6 semaines pour la subvention salariale. Ils ont besoin d'aide maintenant. Ça aurait pu être fait avant que la Chambre siège. And third, the government must release all simulations, projections, data, and modeling that show the potential impact of this pandemic on the health of Canadians and our healthcare system. Other governments are releasing this information so that researchers and non-governmental organizations can review it and provide advice. Avant d'approuver des dizaines de milliards de dollars pour de nouveaux programmes, les Canadiens méritent de savoir à quoi le gouvernement s'attend. Mr. Trudeau should be open and transparent with Canadians. We can handle the truth. In order to increase the transparency and oversight, the government should also provide regular updates, weekly updates on Canada's capacity to respond to this crisis, including our inventory of medical equipment and our evolving capacity to produce more. How many masks, gloves, gowns, and ventilators do we have? What progress are we making in expanding our capacity to provide more? How many hospital beds are in service? How many beds have been added to the system? how many medical professionals are available, and how many more are being added to that system. Do we have enough supplies for the various scenarios that the government has modeled? These updates should include projections for at least the next 6 months. Now, Mr. Trudeau says his government is being guided by the evidence, so it's time to release that evidence. The government must also be accountable to Parliament. Comme nous l'avons convenu la semaine dernière, les comités des finances et de la santé de la Chambre des communes ont commencé à se réunir avec des mandats élargis pour étudier tous les aspects de la réponse du gouvernement à la pandémie. Nous nous attendons à ce que ces réunions continuent par vidéoconférence. Nous voulons aussi que ces comités se réunissent 1 ou 2 fois par semaine avec des heures prolongées et que tous les partis puissent convoquer des témoins et proposer des motions comme ils le feraient avec des réunions en personne. De plus, nous aimerions que d'autres comités parlementaires puissent se réunir par vidéoconférence pour discuter des questions liées à la coronavirus qui touchent leur dossier. And secondly, while we appreciate the Prime Minister's daily updates, we expect that these updates will start to look more like normal statements in the House of Commons, where opposition parties have the opportunity to respond and ask questions. And if, due to public health concerns surrounding commercial travel and large meetings in large groups, members of the House of Commons are unable to meet in person in Ottawa, these accountability sessions could take place by video conference, be chaired by the Speaker, and follow House rules until MPs can meet in person. And finally, while we also appreciate the daily updates by ministers and federal officials, we expect that these updates will also soon begin to look more like parliamentary accountability sessions. La semaine dernière, la Chambre a réuni le comité plénier avec les ministres. Cette réunion a eu lieu en personne, mais nous sommes prêts à le faire par vidéoconférence à partir de maintenant, si nécessaire. The government has said that this pandemic requires a Team Canada approach. And of course, the Conservative Party is ready to be part of that team. But taking a Team Canada approach does not mean no tough questions or oversight. In fact, the opposite is true. Rigorous scrutiny and accountability ensures that the right decisions are made on behalf of Canadians. So Conservatives will continue to put forward constructive solutions, press the governments for answers on behalf of Canadians, and when necessary, call out mistakes that are made so that they can be corrected and so that Canadians can get through this crisis as quickly as possible together. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Happy to take your questions.
Thank you.
We will now take 7 questions from the phone. We invite you to ask 1 question and 1 follow-up. Operator, please begin.
Thank you. Please press star 1 at this time if you have a question. If at any time you wish to cancel your question, please press the pound sign. There will be a brief pause while participants register for questions. We thank you for your patience. Our first question is from a participant. Please state your name and your organization and proceed with your question. So if you have pressed star 1, your line is now open. You may proceed with your question. So if you are on a speakerphone, can you pick up the handset or unmute your line?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. No, we weren't identified by name, though. We had identified ourselves by name. Mr. Scheer, Tom Korski with Blacklock's Reporter. 2 questions. Restaurants Canada yesterday identified 800,000 job losses since the 1st of March. Do you have an opinion on whether whatever wage subsidy package Parliament decides on and whenever payments are made, that it is already too late for millions of people?
Well, of course, we have major concerns about the very facts that you've stated. So many restaurants have closed their doors. They've been told to keep their doors closed, and customers have been told not to frequent those types of businesses. So they have seen catastrophic drop in their revenue. They've seen no revenue come in. So a subsidy for wages won't help because in many situations, there's no work for those people to do. There's no customers coming in to provide revenue. That's why we've proposed the GST refund, allowing those small businesses to keep the GST that they've already collected, allows them to pay their bills, to pay their rent, and hopefully weather the storm. It's imperative that the government makes decisions that ensures that there are jobs for people to go back to. And work in the restaurant sector is very precarious. It's a very difficult industry at the best of times. So that's why we're calling on this immediate measure. It won't take weeks and weeks to do this. Allowing companies to keep the GST that they've already collected is virtually instantaneous and will allow many more of these enterprises to withstand the storm.
On a separate topic, Parliament last year voted for wage subsidies for media corporations. There are rumors now of catastrophic losses for public and private media corporations. You had campaigned against corporate welfare, proposed large cuts, but did not identify media corporations by name. So can I ask you, do you have a definitive statement today on whether media corporations should be allowed to muscle their way to the front of the line ahead of 800,000 jobless restaurant workers for more subsidies at taxpayers' expense?
Well, you're right to point out that at the time that the media bailout package was introduced, Conservatives had major concerns with that. Our preference under normal economic conditions were for media companies to be able to monetize the creation of their content. We recognize that there are many large internet companies, multinational companies headquartered in other countries that reap the benefits of the content that Canadian media creators produce. So journalists and authors who write articles see their articles shared on news aggregator sites and on other platforms that collect all the ad revenue. So our preference was to impose market mechanisms that would ensure that the creators of the content were able to receive the revenue of the content. At this point in time, with this crisis affecting literally every sector, I think it's appropriate for the government to take a balanced approach to treat every sector as fairly as possible. There's a lot of hurt out there. There's hurt in the service sector. There's hurt in the oil and gas sector. There's a lot of hurt in the retail sector. Obviously, some media outlets are facing the same types of pressure. I think it's important that the government treats everyone as fairly as possible in this crisis.
Thank you. Our next question is from Louis Blouin from Radio-Canada. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Bonjour, M. Scheer. Vous demandez à ce que le gouvernement publie ses scénarios, rende public le plus de données possible. Mais actuellement, ce que les autorités de la santé nous expliquent, c'est que ces données-là, actuellement, ne sont pas complètes et pas nécessairement fiables parce que chaque province les collecte de manière différente. Est-ce qu'il n'y a pas un danger si on publie trop vite de donner des projections erronées aux gens?
Mais c'est important d'envoyer les informations, les données. Ça va assurer que les experts pour les analyses et assurer que le gouvernement prend les bonnes décisions. J'ai vu beaucoup des articles avec les informations avec des caveats. S'il y a quelques scénarios, quelques aspects de l'information que quelqu'un doit être au courant pour évaluer les informations. C'est possible. Je crois que maintenant, après quelques semaines d'être dans une crise, c'est pas une excuse que le gouvernement agisse trop vite. C'est clair que le gouvernement actuel n'a pas à agir. Je crois que les Canadiens peuvent avoir les informations. C'est essentiel d'assurer que les gouvernements prennent des bonnes décisions, d'avoir les analyses, les critiques, le scrutin, d'assurer que les décisions qui sont basées sur les preuves sont les bonnes décisions.
M. Scheer, vous avez peut-être vu que l'administration qui a demandé à l'entreprise 3M de cesser d'exporter des masques au Canada. Comment le gouvernement fédéral devrait-il réagir à cette nouvelle-là? Vous vous attendez à quoi de M. Trudeau? Parce que ça pourrait représenter quand même un problème assez sérieux.
C'est un problème très, très sérieux et le gouvernement doit utiliser tous les outils qu'ils ont pour assurer que les Canadiens et notre système de santé peuvent avoir accès à l'équipement essentiel. C'est très troublant quand on lit les articles qui disent que les compagnies a eu des directions de ne pas exporter au Canada, de ne pas envoyer les équipements. Alors, c'est essentiel qu'on trouve des façons de protéger notre équipement et notre capacité de produire plus d'équipements pour les prochaines semaines.
Thank you. Merci. Our following question is from Andrew Lawton from True North. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Good morning, Mr. Scheer. Earlier in the week, you indicated that we should, and I'm not quoting directly, but you said that, you have some skepticism with any information coming from China, given its record on this. Yesterday, Health Minister Patty Hajdu said, quote, there's no indication that the data that came out of China in terms of their infection rate and their death rate was falsified in any way, unquote. What's your response to the government seemingly saying that there's no reason to distrust China on coronavirus?
Well, I continue to believe that any government that operates in an autocratic fashion, a communist government that denies basic human rights to its own people, that stifles dissent and squashes the free press, should be distrusted. And it's puzzling to me why a Canadian minister would vouch for a country, a government of a country that operates in that fashion. It's extremely troubling. Our security partners around the world have flagged problems with the information that is coming out of the government of China. I don't know why this current government always feels the need to defend the actions of the communist government in China, but it is very concerning.
As a follow-up, whether it's been on when to impose travel restrictions or other policy responses from the government, the Prime Minister has said that he's deferring to the experts. What's your take on the expertise and counsel that's been given to the government from Dr. Theresa Tam and from the public health sector federally more broadly?
Well, clearly, especially as it relates to the travel ban and restrictions on passengers coming in from overseas destinations where there had been a spike in the number of cases, clearly that advice was wrong, because just a few days later, the opposite advice was given and the opposite measures were given. We were calling for those types of restrictions very early on. That's why I believe it is so essential that the government releases the information that they're basing these decisions on, because that allows for a more robust debate. It allows for more public scrutiny. It allows for the peer review of experts and academics and people who are tasked with managing these types of crises. It also allows members of Parliament to conduct peer review of government ministers. So it's essential that not only the decisions are made public, but also the thinking and the information and the evidence behind that decision.
Thank you. Our following question is from Bill Curry from the Globe and Mail. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Hi, Mr. Scheer. I just wanted to talk about the Back to Parliament session, which I'm sure the government would want to happen quickly, which kind of creates pressure for unanimous consent. You mentioned the shelving the carbon tax increase, which I don't think the government would be too keen on doing. So how forcefully will you be pushing that? Is that a hard and fast condition in terms of granting unanimous consent to get a bill moving quickly?
Well, obviously, we recognize the need to get the real help to Canadians out the door as quickly as possible. We are cognizant of that, and we know that the days and weeks matter. So I indicated our willingness to be cooperative and constructive. I will note that we have made requests We have put pressure on the government to address some of the shortcomings in their announcements, and we have seen some action as a result of that. For example, the wage subsidy was originally introduced at a rate of 10%. We pointed out that that was not going to help most people affected by this pandemic. Most companies that have been told to shut their doors are seeing no revenue come in, and most others are experiencing major drops in revenue. So because of our pressure, they decided to follow our advice and raise that subsidy. We're hopeful that they take these requests seriously. We're going to be urging them to do so. We don't believe it makes any sense to take more money out of the economy during not only a health crisis but also an economic crisis. We also believe that the GST refund is a concrete solution to the problem that has already been identified by the small business community, and that is that they won't be able to wait the 6 weeks, and they won't be able to pay wages on the front end and then apply for the subsidy on the back end. So we're hoping that they take these suggestions seriously. We're putting partisanship aside. We hope they do too, and just recognize what the economy needs right now and also what our healthcare system needs right now.
And last week, your party was surprised with the draft bill, and that created some drama. Are things working any better this time in terms of advanced talks with Mr. Trudeau or between MPs? And can you also provide a better sense of what you're proposing? Are you proposing a virtual daily question period? What exactly do you have in mind for parliamentary changes in this atmosphere?
Well, I'm always an optimist, and I hope that the government learned its lesson from last week, that Canadians don't want to see that type of partisanship when the justification for recalling Parliament is to quickly get help out the door and into the hands of Canadians who need it. Canadians expect that that's exactly what we're doing. So I'm hopeful that this time that won't happen. I'm so far encouraged by the level of dialogue that we've been able to have, both in terms of the other party leaders and in terms of the government as well. What I'm proposing today is that, these are in general terms because I understand that a lot of conversations have to happen between our House leaders and between the party House leadership teams. But in general, we would like to see more parliamentary accountability. We believe it helps the government make better decisions. We need to get this right on behalf of all Canadians. As a country, we have to get this right. And where there are gaps, where there are shortcomings, we need to identify those as quickly as possible and propose the solutions to fix them as well. I believe the best context for that to happen is in the House of Commons, where there can be that robust back and forth and that exchange. We're going to be proposing several types of options that will allow us to do that on behalf of all Canadians.
Thank you. Our following question is from Stephanie Lewitz from the Canadian Press. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Good morning, Mr. Scheer. Thanks for taking our questions. I wonder if you could tell me to what extent you think the issue with the wage subsidy going from 10 to 75% was an actual mistake on the part of the government, or just a realization that what they had originally planned, was a response to changing circumstances?
Well, the original wage subsidy that they proposed was far short of what the needs were in the business community, in the small and medium-sized business community. We immediately identified that the 10% subsidy was not going to cut it. We were predicting that there was going to be catastrophic losses of jobs, that there was going to be catastrophic drops in revenue for small and medium-sized businesses, and 10% was not going to make the difference. So that was the plan that they proposed. That was the solution that they proposed for keeping people on the job. So clearly there were some shortcomings in that, and I believe that had they indicated, had they announced the policy that they announced this week, several weeks ago or several days ago, we could have got that help out the door all the sooner. So again, we're here to offer constructive solutions, to point out shortcomings, to put pressure on them, to fix the gaps. We're pleased that they took our advice on that. We're hoping that they can design this program to get the money out the door quickly. There are many concerns that are being raised about the 6-week timeline, and the fact that many companies don't have the capacity to pay the wages up front because there's basically been a complete drop in cash flow for them. So again, I continue to push for the idea of refunding the GST that these businesses have already collected. It could be done instantaneously. All the information is there. There's no need for a new program. It's simply a matter of allowing companies to keep the money that they've already collected. That will provide much needed cash injection for so many businesses across this country.
And just as a follow-up, is your sense that they're only recalling Parliament for this wage subsidy, or do you have any indication that there's other things they're going to be asking Parliament to consider, and what are those things?
At this point in time, the concentration has been on the wage subsidy. We have indicated our strong desire to be made aware of any further measures or further additions if they are contemplating adding. Obviously, the consequences of this pandemic continue to evolve in real time. We want to be respectful and of that, and if there are other ideas that they want to bring forward, we're open to hearing from them. We hope that they are open to hearing from our ideas as well and incorporate some of the things that we've been calling for in their legislation as well.
Thank you. Merci. Following question is from Hélène Buzetti du Devoir. À vous la parole. Please go ahead.
Oui, bonjour, Monsieur Scheer. J'aimerais seulement revenir à la question de mon collègue Bill Curry. Je trouve pas que vous avez été très, très clair. Cette demande que la hausse de la taxe sur le carbone n'aille pas de l'avant, est-ce que c'est une condition sine qua non à votre appui au reste des mesures gouvernementales?
C'est une demande, c'est une bonne idée d'annuler une augmentation d'une taxe. C'est toujours une bonne idée de baisser les impôts et pas d'augmenter. Ça, c'est notre position. Nous avons vu que le gouvernement a pris nos idées dans les jours passés. On espère qu'il va l'adopter, cette idée aussi. Je ne vais pas faire des négociations publiques. Je sais qu'on doit avoir des discussions avec tous les autres partis aussi, mais c'est une idée qui va aider les Canadiens dans cette crise.
Mais est-ce que c'est une condition de votre part?
C'est notre position, nous espérons qu'elle va suivre notre avis et nous sommes prêts on va voir s'il l'adopter.
This concludes our press conference, and we'd like to thank everyone for attending.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you, merci.
Okay, give us a few seconds here and we'll switch over to Justin Trudeau.
Referrals, please. Looking for some referrals here, folks. Anyone looking for a consultant? I offer service
to work virtually wherever possible. By March the 17th, we had the closure of public gathering places and establishment. By March the 21st,
Good morning, everyone. Hello. Bonjour à tous. Merci d'être des nôtres. Before we get into things, I have two pieces of news to share with everyone. The first one is about the distribution of critical equipment to provinces and territories. For the past few weeks, our government has been working closely with industry to produce the supplies our healthcare workers need, like masks, face shields, gowns, ventilators, and test kits. Well, today I can announce that our government has signed an agreement with Amazon Canada to manage the distribution of this equipment to the provinces and territories. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce que notre gouvernement a conclu une entente avec Amazon Canada pour acheminer du matériel médical aux provinces et aux territoires. Amazon utilisera son grand réseau de distribution pour assurer la livraison d'équipements médicaux là où on en a le plus besoin. La deuxième nouvelle dont je veux vous faire part ce matin est en lien avec l'armée. On a reçu une demande du gouvernement du Québec pour une intervention des forces armées pour prêter main forte aux communautés nordiques et isolées. Comme je l'ai dit plus tôt cette semaine, nos membres sont toujours prêts à aider les communautés à lutter contre la COVID-19. Je peux donc confirmer que les forces armées seront là pour les Québécois comme pour tous les Canadiens. Depuis quelques semaines, la COVID-19 chamboule les vies. On fait l'école à la maison, on réduit nos déplacements, on reste chez nous le plus possible. On vit tous les conséquences de la pandémie, mais certaines familles traversent des moments encore plus difficiles et plus incertains. Si vous avez perdu votre job, si vous ne recevez plus votre chèque de paye, vous vous demandez non seulement comment vous allez payer vos factures à la fin du mois, mais l'épicerie le lendemain. Across the country, there are food banks that can help. But like most organizations, food banks are facing new challenges because of this pandemic. With everyone staying home, they have fewer volunteers. And a difficult economic climate means that they're receiving fewer donations that they normally would, while demand rises. The staff at the Neighbour to Neighbour Food Bank in Hamilton told us they're getting more and more calls. And it's overwhelming for the volunteers who are spread really thin and working overtime to help their community. The work being done by food banks and their volunteers is essential, so there's no question that they need more support during this crisis. If you have the time and ability to help, reach out to your local food bank and ask them how you can help them. At the same time, I'm announcing that the government will provide $100 million to meet the urgent food needs of vulnerable Canadians, including those living in Indigenous and Northern communities. This money will help ensure that organizations can buy and deliver food to those who need it the most. It will help support organizations that you may already know, like Food Banks Canada, Breakfast Club, and the Salvation Army, and many more. And on that note, I do want to take a moment to thank all volunteers and organizers. Thank you for feeding our communities. We see you, and we are grateful for the incredible, tireless work you do, even in these extremely difficult circumstances, especially in these extremely difficult circumstances. You are doing essential work for our most vulnerable. You are showing what it is to be Canadian, to be there for each other in times of difficulty. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce que le gouvernement investit 100 millions de dollars pour répondre aux besoins alimentaires urgents des gens les plus vulnérables, y compris ceux qui vivent dans les communautés autochtones et nordiques. Ces fonds aideront les banques alimentaires à acheter et à livrer des provisions à ceux qui en ont besoin. Depuis le début de la pandémie, les banques alimentaires font face à des défis particuliers. Par exemple, la plupart de leurs bénévoles sont des personnes à la retraite qui sont plus à risque d'attraper la COVID-19. Ça veut dire moins de monde pour desservir une clientèle grandissante. Les banques alimentaires et les organismes de bienfaisance font un travail incroyable pour nos communautés à l'année longue. Je pense par exemple à la maison de quartier Villeray, que je connais depuis bien des années, où les gens travaillent extrêmement fort pour aider leurs voisins dans mon comté de Papineau. Si vous avez le temps et le moyen d'aider ces jours-ci, je vous invite donc à communiquer directement avec les organismes autour de chez vous. Ils ont besoin de votre aide. Et avec l'annonce aujourd'hui, on appuie plusieurs organismes que vous connaissez peut-être déjà, comme Moisson Montréal, le Club des petits déjeuners et l'Armée du Salut. Je veux d'ailleurs en profiter pour remercier tous les bénévoles et les organismes pour leur travail. Vous nourrissez vos communautés. On apprécie énormément tout ce que vous faites. C'est pas facile. Il y a énormément de demandes. Vous êtes limité dans vos ressources. Mais je sais que vous allez continuer d'aider vos voisins, d'aider les gens qui en ont besoin. C'est ce qu'on fait dans les moments de difficulté. On est là, les uns pour les autres, et nous serons là pour vous. Je sais que vous êtes nombreux en ce moment à traverser des moments difficiles. La pandémie crée beaucoup d'incertitudes et ça vous inquiète. Mais je veux que vous sachiez que notre gouvernement ne va pas vous laisser tomber. On a investi dans les banques alimentaires pour que vous puissiez subvenir aux besoins urgents de votre famille pendant cette crise. Et en même temps, on offre un soutien financier à ceux qui ont perdu leur emploi ou leur chèque de paye à cause de la COVID-19. On met en place la prestation canadienne d'urgence qui vous donnera 2 000 $ par mois. Notre gouvernement augmentera aussi le crédit pour la TPS pour aider les gens dont le revenu est faible ou modeste. On avait dit que les adultes admissibles recevraient jusqu'à 300 $ et jusqu'à 150 $ par enfant à partir du mois de mai. Mais je peux maintenant confirmer qu'ils recevront de l'aide ce mois-ci, en avril. Our government is also supplementing the GST credit to help low-income people. We had said that in May, every qualifying adult would receive up to $300 with $150 for each child, but I can now confirm that help is coming sooner, this month, in April instead. Our government has also been working with major banks to deliver benefits, including the CERB, through direct deposit. Effective today, people should visit their bank's website for information on how to enroll for direct deposit if they haven't already. Je sais que vous êtes nombreux à vouloir savoir combien de temps ça va durer. Vous vous demandez quand est-ce que vous allez pouvoir voir vos amis, serrer vos grands-parents et recevoir de la visite pour le souper. Hier soir, je me suis entretenu avec les premiers ministres des provinces et des territoires et on a notamment parlé du partage de données et des projections. La bonne nouvelle, c'est qu'on teste beaucoup plus de gens et les experts ont des nouvelles données à analyser. Les provinces et les territoires sont en train de mettre leurs données à jour et publieront les dernières informations bientôt. De notre côté, on travaille très fort pour vérifier les derniers chiffres pour pouvoir ensuite les mettre en ligne. Vous pouvez consulter le canada.ca/coronavirus pour obtenir les meilleures informations à jour sur les propagations du virus. J'aimerais pouvoir vous dire exactement quand tout sera terminé. Je vous parle souvent de semaines et peut-être même de mois, mais la réalité, c'est que ça va dépendre de chacun d'entre nous. La meilleure façon de minimiser l'impact de la COVID-19, c'est de continuer à suivre les directives des experts. Vous les connaissez. Restez chez vous le plus possible. Limitez vos déplacements. Et si vous devez absolument sortir de la maison, gardez une distance de 2 mètres avec les autres. Continuez à faire votre part et je vous promets qu'on va passer à travers. Je veux terminer aujourd'hui avec un message pour les jeunes et les enfants. Dimanche, je vais faire une vidéoconférence axée sur vous avec la Dr Tam. Vous pouvez m'envoyer vos questions aujourd'hui sur le site de Radio-Canada Jeunesse et j'ai hâte de vous répondre en fin de semaine. I want to close with a message for kids. On Sunday, I'll be holding a video conference focused on you with Dr. Tam. So send me your questions through CBC Kids' websites by the end of the day, and I'm looking forward to answering you this weekend. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We'll now go to the phone lines for a few questions. One question and one follow-up. Operator?
Thank you. Merci. First question, Kate Bolingaro, Bloomberg. Your line is open.
Hello, Prime Minister. I have a question regarding the OPEC. Canada has been with the party and
I'm sorry, Kate, your line is cutting out a little bit. Can you try and speak closer to the phone and a little more clearly?
Yes, no problem. Can you hear me now, Mr. Prime Minister?
That's much better. Thank you.
Okay, so my question is regarding the OPEC Plus meeting on Monday. Is Canada planning to meet with, has it decided to meet with, or is it already talked OPEC other oil producing nations about coordinating output levels to help bring crude prices down back up, and what would you have to potentially look like?
I can assure you that we've been coordinating closely with the United States and other allies in looking at the challenges faced by OPEC right now. We recognize that these catastrophically low oil prices are having an impact on many people's economies and indeed on Canadian oil sectors. We're trying to coordinate to ensure that we make sure that our economy doesn't face the kinds of challenges that it's been facing. We need to continue to support workers across the country. We will continue to work internationally to try and impact on the difficult decisions made by OPEC over the past weeks, and we will keep you posted on that.
And what is happening with the support package for the oil sector we've been hearing about?
We're continuing to work with provinces, particularly the province of Alberta, to ensure that we're giving support to workers who are in particularly distressed industries. The wage subsidy and the Canada Emergency Response Benefit will be of help to people right across the country, including in the oil sector, but we recognize that certain industries are facing much greater stresses than others, and we will continue to work with the provinces. I can highlight that in our conversation last night, the premiers and I did discuss this. I heard directly from Premier Kenney and others on the importance of support to the oil sector, and we're going to continue to work with them.
Thank you. Operator, next question.
Thank you. Merci. Prochaine question, Mélanie Marquis, La Presse. À vous.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. On apprend que l'administration Trump a demandé à 3N de cesser d'exporter des masques N95 au Canada, en Amérique latine également. Pouvez-vous nous donner plus de détails sur ce que vous savez? Comment qualifiez-vous cette décision-là? Et puis, comment est-ce que le Canada compte y réagir?
On est en train de travailler très étroitement avec les États-Unis pour qu'ils comprennent ce que nous, on sait très bien déjà, c'est que les échanges entre le Canada et les États-Unis vont dans les deux sens, particulièrement pour les biens essentiels et pour le personnel médical. Il y a des milliers d'infirmiers et d'infirmières à Windsor qui travaillent au Détroit à chaque jour sur lesquels les Américains dépendent. Il y a des produits médicaux et essentiels qui vont dans les deux sens à travers notre frontière et ce serait une erreur pour nos deux pays de limiter l'accès de l'un et l'autre à des produits et du personnel nécessaire de l'autre côté de la frontière. C'est ce qu'on est en train de souligner et on va continuer de travailler pour s'assurer que ce dont on a besoin va arriver. Okay. we've been working very closely with the Americans to highlight what Canadians know very, very well, that the level of integration between our economies goes both ways across the border, that we are receiving essential supplies from the United States, but the United States also receives essential supplies and products and indeed healthcare professionals from Canada every single day. I think of the thousands of nurses, for example, who cross the bridge in Windsor to work in the Detroit medical system every single day. These are things that Americans rely on, and it would be a mistake to create blockages or reduce the amount of back and forth trade of essential goods and services, including medical goods, across our border. That is the point we're making very clearly to the American administration right now.
And a follow-up, Melanie?
Hier, M. Trudeau, vous deviez faire le suivi avec Washington concernant le détournement de matériel médical, des masques qui sont achetés sur le tarmac. Qu'est-ce que vous leur avez dit? Qu'avez-vous appris? Puis juste pour revenir aussi à la question à laquelle vous n'avez pas répondu, est-ce que le Canada va riposter en refusant lui aussi d'envoyer des masques aux États-Unis si on en envoie effectivement?
Nous allons toujours chercher à continuer le commerce ouvert et essentiel avec les États-Unis. On dépend tous les deux du commerce et des échanges de biens et de services essentiels de chaque côté de la frontière, et nous allons travailler pour s'assurer que ça continue à être possible et être encouragé dans ces moments de difficulté. Nous allons toujours faire des suivis sur des préoccupations par rapport aux livraisons, mais pour l'instant, on est confiant qu'on continue à recevoir ce dont on a besoin.
Thank you. Next question, operator.
Thank you. Merci. Next question, Tonda McCharles, Toronto Star. Line open.
Tonda, you might be on mute.
Yeah, I am. Sorry. Thanks for taking the question. Can you clarify? Last night, this order came from Trump to 3M company to cease their exports to Canada, and you've talked about how valuable it is. But have you, since then, put in a call to the president? Do you have one planned today? And you said it would be a mistake, but it's a done deal, is it not?
3M has indicated that it understands how important it is to continue with delivering on orders to places like Canada, because there is much trade that goes back and forth in essential services, and it could end up hurting Americans as much as it hurts anybody else. That is the point that we are making very directly and have been making for many days now to various levels of the American administration, and that message is getting through. 3M a indiqué que ce serait une erreur de limiter le commerce en matériaux essentiels parce que tous les pays ont besoin de recevoir du matériel d'en dehors de leurs frontières, et ce serait blessant pour les Américains d'avoir des limites sur les biens essentiels qui arrivaient du Canada et d'autre part. C'est une chose qu'on est en train de souligner très fortement avec l'administration américaine ces jours-ci, y compris ce matin.
As a follow-up, sir, you didn't indicate whether you have or will speak to the president today, but I'd like to understand from your perspective just how big a gap this leaves Canada's supplies of these crucial medical masks.
We continue to be confident that we're going to receive the necessary equipment. We understand that there are pressures across our healthcare systems in various regions on the dwindling supplies. That's why we are working so hard to ensure that we get the right supplies to them in the right amount of time. We've seen a number of Canadian companies stepping up their productions, which will be flowing soon. We're also receiving more shipments from places around the world. We will do everything we can to ensure that no part of Canada goes without essential supplies in facing this pandemic.
Thank you. Operator, one more question on the phone, please.
Thank you. Merci. Justin Ling, freelance. Your line is open.
Hi there, Prime Minister. You've been imploring people to stay home if they can. You've been asking people not to go to work. But given that, why are you still sending in civil servants to run immigration detention facilities when that could seriously increase the risk of spreading the virus not only to those detained in the facilities, but to those workers who have to go back home to their families every day? Do you consider that an essential service to be locking up people who were applying for asylum here?
We recognize that there are many essential services that need to continue to be delivered for Canadian safety, for the well-being of our country, and ensuring that Canadians are safe needs to be a top priority. That's why we're going to continue to ensure that essential services get done wherever possible. Civil servants are encouraged to work remotely, to work from home. We know there are significant things that need to be worked on to deliver for Canadians, to keep Canadians safe at this particular time. And I want to take the opportunity again to thank the public service for all it does in these difficult times to make sure Canadians are kept safe and secure.
Well, it's not really a question of safety when you're locking up those who may have overstayed a visa or who applied for asylum. And certainly, it's been 2 weeks now since I first asked you about releasing nonviolent offenders, and nothing has happened. Your government has continuously said, you're looking at it, everything's on the table, you're looking at it, but nothing's actually happened yet. Why are you dragging your feet, and why has action not been taken yet?
I can actually inform you that action has been taken. We've been working closely with Corrections Canada and detention facilities of all types to reduce the vulnerability to the spread of COVID-19, to ensure that measures are in place to keep Canadians safe. We continue to look at other measures that can be taken, and we will take those measures in due course.
Brian Mullen, Global News. Prime Minister, on the issue of 3M, you're saying if the U.S. goes ahead with this, it could hurt Americans also because of the flow of supplies and resources across the border. Are you considering any retaliatory measures against the U.S.?
We are discussing very closely with the United States the importance of keeping the flow of essential goods and services across our border to help both of our countries. I am confident that the close and deep relationship between Canada and U.S. Will hold strong, and that we will not have to see interruptions in supply chain in either directions. Nous allons continuer de souligner aux Américains à quel point c'est dans nos intérêts de chaque côté de la frontière de continuer à partager des biens et services essentiels. C'est quelque chose qui est très important pour nous tous, et c'est pour ça que je suis confiant qu'on va pouvoir continuer de compter l'un sur l'autre dans cette crise importante.
Glenn McGregor, CTV News. Prime Minister, within the hour, Ontario officials are going to reveal their projections on the number of cases and the number of fatalities we might expect in the province. Dr. Tam has said the federal equivalent of those models are being used to inform your policy decisions, require Canadians to dramatically alter their way of life. Don't you have an obligation to follow Premier Ford's lead and release projections on the worst case and best case scenarios about how many of us might die?
We have been releasing information every single day on data received from the provinces, updating it regularly on websites so Canadians can see the latest numbers and look at various models that use those numbers to make various projections. At the same time, we need to make sure that the projections that we will be releasing are based on the most accurate, the deepest, the most properly collated information out there. We are working with the provinces to be able to build a robust model to give the projections that people want to see. People are wondering, how much longer is this going to last? How many Canadians are going to be severely affected? These are things that we will be sharing with Canadians, but we need to make sure we have a better grasp on the accuracy of the data before we put projections out there. Okay. Nous reconnaissons que les Canadiens veulent savoir combien de temps ça va prendre, qu'on va devoir continuer cet isolement, combien de Canadiens vont être affectés, combien il y aura de décès. Nous allons partager cette information, mais avant de pouvoir le partager, il va falloir qu'on se base sur des données très précises et meilleures que ce qu'on a maintenant. C'est pour ça qu'on est en train de travailler avec les provinces pour approfondir nos données, pour pouvoir livrer un modèle qui est beaucoup plus ancré dans la réalité.
Marika Walsh with the Globe and Mail. I just want to return to the OPEC questions you were asked at the top.
Can you clarify, is Canada at the table at Monday's meeting, or are you just dealing with the U.S. and the U.S. is the one dealing with OPEC?
Okay. We are continuing our conversations with the international community, including with OPEC. There have been communications between OPEC and Canada. We will continue to stress that we need to work together as a world to get through this economic crisis as well as a health crisis. We will continue to insist on that.
Okay, can you please clarify if that means Canada will actually be at the table? And also, I'd like to get your thoughts on whether Canadian producers should actually be cutting their production further. They've already had to do this. More is expected because of supply challenges. So is it a wise strategy for Canada to coordinate with a price-setting cartel that has caused many of the current problems we're seeing in the global pricing of oil?
Well, I can assure you that conversations are ongoing with the United States on how we can work together to ensure that we are countering some of the measures being brought in by OPEC, and we will continue those conversations.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Mathieu Goyer de Radio-Canada. On comprend que ce sont les Rangers qui vont être dans le nord du Québec. Pouvez-vous donner plus de détails sur leur nom et leur mission particulière?
On sait que les Rangers canadiens sont toujours présents dans le Nord pour aider dans les communautés, pour aider à servir. Ce que je comprends, c'est qu'au Nunavik, les Rangers vont être là pour aider à installer des tentes et de l'infrastructure médicale. On aura plus de détails sur les nombres dans les heures à venir.
Et dans les hôpitaux, les pharmaciens craignent des pénuries de médicaments importants comme du Ventolin, de la morphine, du Curare, comme on le voit dans les hôpitaux européens. Qu'est-ce que vous faites pour s'assurer qu'on ne manque pas de médicaments dans nos hôpitaux canadiens?
On a une industrie pharmaceutique assez robuste au Canada. On a déjà passé le message de créer plus de produits qui vont être nécessaires pendant cette crise. Nous travaillons aussi avec la communauté internationale pour s'assurer qu'il n'y ait pas de pénurie dans les hôpitaux canadiens. On va continuer de veiller au niveau de ressources que nous avons pour s'assurer qu'aucun hôpital, aucun Canadien ne manque de médicaments dont ils ont besoin.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News. I imagine you have seen the projections from Ontario and Quebec that will be released shortly. Can you tell us what your reaction is to those numbers and how this will change the federal approach?
I'm not going to preempt the announcement that Premier Ford is going to be making shortly. We have seen the numbers. We continue to work very, very closely with the provinces. We are very much looking to share national projections with Canadians in the coming days. But I can tell you that we know that this is a very difficult situation for Canadians. There are some very challenging projections out there that will emphasize how important it is for all of us to do our part, to stay home, to keep ourselves safe, to keep our loved ones safe, and to get through this as best we possibly can.
How do these numbers change the federal approach?
Our federal approach continues to be to do everything we can based on the best scientific advice to keep Canadians safe and to ensure that our economy bounces back strongly after this is all through. The measures that we're encouraging and asking Canadians to take, whether it's around self-isolation, whether it's around social distancing, which means keeping 2 meters apart, whether it's around ensuring that people are washing their hands regularly and for 20 seconds. These are the things that are going to help keep Canadians safe. As much as we can do at the federal level, as much as we can support, as much as we can bring in quarantines and decrees, ultimately, it is Canadians' own behavior that will make the difference in this. How we get through this depends on you, and that's why I'm so confident that we will get through this, because Canadians are always there for each other. We're looking to do the right thing. We will get through this together. Merci tout le monde.
grocery store trips. All right, thank you for listening to Depictions Media. We've heard from both Andrew Scheer and Justin Trudeau this morning on points of what is going on with the government handling of the virus and measures that are being taken to help keep the economy afloat, to help make sure that we have the appropriate medical supplies, including making sure that the Canadian government is working with the United States, not just the president, but from what I heard that, I'm assuming it's going to be with each and every governor that can actually that will have supplies that are needed for Canadian citizens, and especially for those frontline medical workers helping care for those who have become sick. Thank you for listening to this morning, and we will talk to everybody again later on.